Hello and welcome to another episode of Our Generation on Air. My name's Daniel, known on this podcast for being a regular co-host, but due to holiday commitments, I'm taking over as temporary host whilst Alex is away. In today's episode, we'll be discussing the late drama in Saturday's draw at the Stadium of Light, the defeat against Blackpool, and looking ahead to the game against Rotherham on Saturday. Joining me on the episode is a regular of the podcast, Micah, and the second time on the podcast is Harry, also known on Twitter as Art Insights. Guys, how are we?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. As the most, I'm sure we'll get into it, but I don't think I've been as annoyed with the game as I was last night for a very long time.
Yeah, I just feel a bit deflated. I mean, I left the game and put out an uncharacteristic angry tweet. And then today, like, the anger's sort of worn off, but just, so deflated today.
Yeah, it was a tough one. We'll start with the game on Saturday and with the lineups. Obviously, it was to be expected that we were lacking quality. Hammerlinen comes in, Shadipo and Adoma plays the 2 10s. Were we expecting this lineup on Saturday, and what did we think of the game as a whole?
I think it was sort of hinted at, wasn't it, that we would probably be a little bit weaker Saturday than we were for the Blackpool game, just based off, obviously, Powell's kind of injury was sort of talked about. Obviously, we're still easing Willock back in, and obviously Amos and Richards won't be back for a while. I think some people were hoping Roberts would start, myself included. It was probably a little bit too soon for him. So I would say, all in all, the lineup was to be expected. The game itself, we were bad, don't get me wrong, but we actually did create quite a lot. I think we had something like 20 shots in the end. I know a lot of them were outside the box. But for me, like, it's a good point. Like, me and Alex were saying on the pod last week, for those of you who listened last week, that Stadium of Light's a tough place to go. Like, it's a 50,000 seat stadium. Like, whether or not they've just come up from League One or not, Stadium of Light's not an easy place to go. So if you'd have said to me a point before the game, especially considering the circumstances with the lineup and injuries, I probably would have taken it.
Harry, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't see the first half or much of it due to I was away and none of the streams were working and it wasn't being broadcasted in Spain. But I saw the second half, and it was really poor pretty much the whole half, apart from Roberts being a bright spark in that, I have to say. Really looked a cut above the rest, and he looked decent again yesterday. But yeah, on Sunderland, he looked good. But then I think over the last two games, probably deserved a point out of them. Maybe it would have been Sunderland. We didn't deserve anything out of the game. I thought they looked the better side, but then Chair, who dropped a little bit of a stinker, then shows what he's actually capable of and rescues us. Well, him and Seny rescue us a point. And yeah, that goal, when it went in, I was by the pool and everyone just stopped and looked at me because I went mental with my brother. So a great moment it was, and I was hoping they were going to build on that, but unfortunately not.
Yeah, we'll touch on the first half in a bit more detail before we go on to talk about those two late moments. It's pretty fair to say that Sunderland dominated that half. We were 2-0 down at half time. Was that really a fair reflection, or were there some positives to take from that half?
No, I thought we deserved to go in 2-0 down, to be honest with you. It could have been more on another day. It's funny thinking back to it now with the game in between, but that first half, actually, in hindsight, like it was like really just uninspiring. It just didn't feel like we were going to create anything. As we said, Chair was like, we all know I love Chair, but Chair was just, he was trying too hard. It felt like everything he wanted to do, he was trying to do it like it. You know those people that like say 10 words when it could be said in like 5. Chair was kind of like trying to do things of like 5 or 6 touches of the ball, and sometimes it's a simple layoff, or sometimes just play the ball, and defensively again, Nico, I hate to keep ragging on him because everybody does, but he's League One at best. Do you know what I mean? And fair play to him. The guy, he tries every week. He does his best. He's come through the academy, and I respect that. He's never down tools, but he just looks so out of his depth. And that's a newly promoted team as well that he looked out of his depth up against. So yeah, it was a lot of really bad individual first half performances, I felt like.
Harry, I mean, I think me and you touched on it during the game. You said you were impressed with the attacking set pieces. Obviously, they didn't come off, but do you think that was probably the only positive in that half?
Yeah, there was a couple of good balls and a couple worked well. I can't think back to it now. I feel like we laid it off to a bit wider to create more of an angle, and then Johansson whipped it in with his left. I think that's one I remember. And Dickey got on it and it just went wide, and that was right before half time. That was unfortunate. And it clearly is something that we've worked on with the new set piece coach. There's been a few goals already scored and a few good chances fashioned. But Dan, I'll let you touch on it a bit better because I know you love a set piece and you probably paid a little bit more attention to them than I did.
Yeah, I thought they were promising. I think the thing for me, the difference between probably under Warburton and now is we're making a lot of decoy runs. I think we saw the goal against Middlesbrough. I think it was the Dykes header. Field makes a decoy run. They just look a lot more thought out and a lot more thorough in what we do on the training pitch. So I think that can only be a real positive considering there's such fine margins in the game. Was there anything else to touch on that first half, or have we discussed it? What do you think?
I reckon just a quick one, like Sunderland, you can't say that maybe on the day they had better quality, but you can't say that they have better quality in their squad than we do. And I just think it's so frustrating to watch us get completely walked over by a side that's lesser just because of simple things like energy, winning your duels, first to the second balls. And like, that's not something that really Bill, apart from trying to get them going, he can't really do much. It's down to the players. And no matter how good of a coach you are, you need your players to be playing with that energy. And we showed it against Borough once Willett got that goal and we were on the front foot. And I just really feel like we've got to at least give that in each game. If the quality's not coming off, then you got that to fall back on. And that's the basis of a good team in this division for me. One that's hard to beat, one that wins their battles. And like you see poor teams get up in the playoffs. Who was it a few years back? One that just snuck in. Barnsley. Like they just played such unorthodox football, but so physically good and quick to the second balls. I just think, we need to up that side of the game, because at the minute I think we're relying on too much quality for me, and that's not always coming off because we've not found our stride yet.
No, I'm glad you touched on that bit about Bill and what he can do, because the second half comes, he makes an early change, obviously the introduction of Tyler Roberts, and we actually moved to more of a 4-2-3-1 with Chair not playing as that number 8, but more on as the left-sided 10 or a left winger. Do you think that was a good move by Bill?
Micah?
I saw someone speak about this on Twitter. It might have been you, to be fair, Harry. I saw someone talk about this on Twitter. And they said that he seems to be getting further and further wide. I remember the early days of Warburton when we had that Chair as I'll say Samuel 3 behind Wells or Hugh. he's not a left winger. Do you know what I mean? It's as simple as this. Chad's not a left winger. I prefer him through the mid. I think he does his best stuff in behind the striker. I don't think he's the type of number 10 that Willock is. I think he's much more of a shadow striker type player. So farming him out wide when he's not really the paciest and he kind of can get out muscle, it don't really make sense to me. I understand that, like, in the Middlesbrough game, he was doing that and it was creating a lot of space for Willock to drive through the middle, and it also created space for Dykes to drop in. But I just don't think it suits him, to be honest with you. I think he's much better in the middle of the pitch.
For me, it's like, I'd say Chair and Roberts, it seems like both of their best positions is behind the striker, but in the middle, not playing wider. And for me, it seems like Roberts is having more of an impact. And if that's both their best roles, and as a team we look better with Roberts there, maybe Chair he isn't going to walk into his favoured role. And like, I do like Chair, and I do think that's where he's best. But he did all right out there, like creating, like as a wide playmaker that drifts inside. Like I can see how it would work, but he's not a winger. Like what you're saying is he's not going to beat a man like Bright or Eze can, or Willock even. He doesn't really back himself. Like, he doesn't seem to back himself. He's better when he does drift inside. You just want him picking the ball up in the half spaces in the pockets, really. And if you're giving him a ball in behind to chase, that just isn't his game.
Yeah, I mean, just briefly on Tyler Roberts, he had I really like him already, but what did you guys make of his 45 minutes that he played on Saturday?
No, every time I've seen him, last night, obviously the Blackpool game, we'll get onto that, but every time I've seen him shouting away, obviously the cameo at Sunderland, I've been really impressed by him. I think Bill said last night that he thinks Roberts is going to be one of the best players in the division this year, which is a big claim. But I mean, like, if he can turn those kind of flashes into consistent 90-minute performances, I don't see why not, to be honest.
He's backing it up at the minute, isn't he? He's backing it up, what Bill said.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you look at him, like, one thing that really stood out to me in the Palace game was kind of like the difference in athleticism between like a Premier League team and like a Championship team. Tyler Roberts, he's got like that Premier League level athleticism, but technically, like, he's very secure as well. So like, you're looking at it and you're thinking, like, that's, you know, Premier League standard player. I know it's not really worked out for him at Leeds, but, you know, that's a Premier League standard player. In my opinion, Chris Willock's another Premier League standard player as well. Like, you've got two really exciting options there in behind the striker. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him get to 100% fitness and seeing what he's capable of.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's a couple of flashes. I think it showed more his athleticism and his decision making, I think, on Saturday, and then we saw more technical stuff from him yesterday. But yeah, on Saturday, ball got bowled out to him from Seny as a guy right up his arse, and he receives it and spins the guy, and then he's driving at the defense, and that's what you want to see. Like, I do love Cherry. It's like I'm bashing him today, but I think he's too happy to go backwards. It seems like Roberts is always looking forwards and looking to make things happen, and that's what we want to see as fans, and that's what Bill wants to see. When you get your dangerous players on the ball in dangerous areas, you don't want to see him, you know, check back. You want to see him try and hurt the other team, and I think that he did that throughout his 45 minutes at Sunderland, and we saw good glimpse of it yesterday, which I'm sure we'll get onto later on. I don't want to annoy you, Dan.
That's all right. Well, one of those moments from Tyler Roberts was, I don't know how far he carried the ball up the pitch, but he managed to draw a foul on the edge of the box, and we actually scored a direct free kick for what 3 years, I think.
Was 148 games, I believe.
Yeah, was it the Eze against Wigan?
148 games, Eze against Luton, August 2019.
I was there. No, Wigan. I was there.
I was at Wigan, my bad, Wigan.
Yeah.
Big up Jack Supple for that stat. That is incredible.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it was a very good free kick, wasn't it? And like we touched on earlier, he had a disappointing game in general, but he does come up with those big moments, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. And I football's a funny game, isn't it? Because we're coming away, Chair's coming away from the game with a golden assist now, and he's kind of the hero, other than obviously
in the team of the week as well.
In the team of the week, I cannot believe Seny did not make that team of the week, by the way.
Disgusting, absolutely disgusting.
Literally, what more can you do as a goalkeeper than score a goal and make a double save like 2 minutes later? There's literally, I don't understand it. It's funny because part of it was, to be honest, what Harry was saying. It was with the cross, like for Dieng's goal. It sounds ridiculous to say Dieng's goal, but with across the Dieng's goal, like normally in that position, Ilias will hold on for it too long and then check it back to the fullback. But he just took a touch and was like, "I'm putting it in the middle." Put it in the middle. It's a gorgeous cross, and obviously, like Seny's headed it in, and like that's what, like I said at the start of the season, that's what I want to see more from him. Just like that directness, that instinctiveness, that like not being too scared to play a dangerous ball. But I remember at Middlesbrough at home, he had a great chance to put Willock in behind on the outside of his foot, and he tried to beat his man. And it's like, sometimes with Ilias, it's don't think too much. Trust your instinct. Put that ball in the box. Play that ball in behind. Take on that man. And it's what happens. I'm not saying he's not gonna set up the goalkeeper for a winning goal every week. But like, I feel like a player of his quality, more good is going to come from taking risks than bad, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. And what you're saying there, and what we touched on, was the directness. And for me, I think Bill touched on it. It took till the 87th, or that was like the 90th, for him to like get the ball, shift it, and put it in straight away, because there's that urgency. I reckon if that's in like the 40th minute, and he's in that position, he probably checks back and like recycles it around the box. And I think as a team, we sometimes just wait for things to happen. And like we saw it last year, we had quite a few comebacks. It seems to be a running theme, like urgency towards the end of the game. But we've got to bring that directness from the get-go, and especially for Chair, like he showed there when it matters, he's stepped up. But we want to see it, before we're 2-0 down.
Yeah, I do think part of that, not to rag on him because he's left the club now, but I do think part of that is kind of the Warburton legacy. Like, you got to remember, like, a lot of the Beale signings haven't actually been able to come into the team yet. So this is mostly like the bones of the Warburton team. And there was a lot of that remark, wasn't there? There was a lot of that, let's not whip it into the box too early. Let's play it around the box. Let's wait for the right opportunity.
Yeah.
So like hopefully with time, like I said at the start of this season, like it's 10 games before you can really judge the championship. Hopefully with time, we'll see a little bit less of that cautiousness and a bit more kind of urgency. So I'm trying not to worry too much.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously we've touched on it briefly, but the goal by Seny Dieng, if we learn anything from that, it'd be that he needs to go out for more set pieces, doesn't he? The leap was huge.
Yeah, great goal. It wasn't even a lucky finish; it was a little deft touch, and
second attempt as well.
Yeah, I know. To be fair, if I'm a Sunderland fan, I'm a bit annoyed about what their keeper's done there. Like, it's gone up in the air, and it's the keeper and Seny and one of their defenders. They've all gone for it, and realistically he should put a name on it and claim it. Yeah. And they punched it back out, and he's then gone and scored. But yeah, great header, great goal, good moment really to be a QPR fan.
That's not his first either, is it? Apparently he scored one off
of Whitehawk.
Yeah.
What a legend.
He just loves the goal. And I'll say as well, for the sake of it, because there's been a couple questions around him a little bit at the start of last season and at the start of this one. He's one of the best keepers in the league, man. Like, he really is. Like, that double save at the end, it's top draw. Like, we're really lucky to have him. You know, like he may not be like Allison, he may not be whoever else, David Raya. Sorry, that's a Brentford player. I shouldn't have said that. But he may not be like Edward Mendy, whatever. He's a great goalkeeper, you know, and we're really lucky. We're really lucky to have him.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I think he's a good shot stopper for this level. I think he's not like the best shot stopper, but I'm really impressed with his distribution. Like yesterday, the amount of ball, I think there might have been one he misplaced, lifting it over to Laird, but that gets us out of trouble, and he doesn't look rushed at all. And I think being a good shot stopper and very good with your feet, it makes for, like you said, top tier championship keeper. So yeah, but yeah, we'll be moving on, Dan. We've gone on this Sunderland game for.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything else you guys want to touch on, or have we I think we've covered the basis of it, haven't we?
Nah, I think we both have a lot to get off our chests about Blackpool.
Yeah, my mind's on last night, to be honest.
Yeah, so we'll move on to Blackpool. Obviously, there's no Willock again, which is probably the main news. Tyler Roberts comes in for his first start. We have a new signing making their debut. Ethan Laird comes in at right back for Kakai. And we also have Dizelle and Kenneth Powell return to the lineup. Were you guys both happy with that?
Yeah, my first instinct is that I really like the lineup. I was surprised to see Laird start, considering he's barely even met his teammates. But I was quite happy with the lineup, to be honest with you.
Harry, what about you?
I was happy. I mean, I do think that Dizelle probably is a better player than Shodipo, but I would have liked to have seen Shodipo start and us go a little bit more attacking, considering we're at home. And I thought Dizelle had a good game, so maybe it should have been Johansson that didn't start. But overall, I was happy. Yeah, it was a decent lineup. A little bit disappointing to not see Willock on the bench, but yeah, can't really do anything about that.
And then, I mean, first half or early doors, I thought we had quite a few chances. Dykes in particular was someone who had, I think it was three decent chances in the first half. I mean, he's got to do better than some of them, hasn't he?
He has to. The one, like, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for the one where he even needs to dink the keeper or cut it back to Johansson, because maybe he thought he was offside. But I mean, I've been playing football since I was 5 years old. The first thing they teach you is play to the whistle.
Are you suggesting that Micah Chudley should start for QPR?
No, I'm suggesting that if Micah Chudley gets the ball and he's one-on-one with the keeper, he doesn't flick it at the keeper's stomach. He'll either check it back to the guy that's open, or he'll shoot and put his foot through the ball. And then if the ref blows for offside, Micah Chudley will then be like, okay, it's offside. That's what Micah Chudley would do. That's the only thing I was suggesting. But, you know, he thought he was offside, whatever. The one where Laird, by the way, Laird really he had a really good first half, I thought. I think he faded in the second half, but I think people went OTT with some of the criticism of it. Like, the guy's barely trained with these, like, he's barely trained. He hasn't played competitive football yet this season. Like, just relax. He's clearly going to be good for us. The one where Laird cuts it back to him, we have to score. Beale said it at the end as well. We have to score that. That's unforgivable. I'm sorry, it's completely unforgivable. That has to go in the back of the net. You do not get those type of chances every week in the Championship. In any league, really. It has to go in. I can't remember what the third one was. I think my head was in my hands at that point. What was the other one?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head, actually.
No, it was where he stole it. He stole it off of them, and he has a good chance to shoot, but he sort of like stumbles over, and then they get back, and then
that's yeah.
And then Roberts had it. So there, it looked from where I was, it looked like, and even on the replay, there was like a second or so where it's really, really opened up for him, and the ball's there to be hit, and he sort of slows it down. And I mean, that's not big of a chance as the other ones, but still, you'd like to see your number 9 at this level taking one of those 3 chances. You know, it was disappointing. And I've tried to stick by Dykes and give him a chance, but I'm running out of excuses in terms of the main thing you need from your striker at this level is to score goals. And unfortunately, doesn't look like we have any that is going to be banging them in this season. And I want to talk about Sinclair, but I'll save it. I'll save it for when we get onto that.
I think we're gonna get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
And then obviously,
now just to touch on Dykes
sorry.
just a little bit more. Sorry, just
that's all right.
for me, he just looks completely like bereft of confidence now. Like the chance we were just talking about, where like Roberts takes the shot, like a confident striker shoots. Like even though it's kind of a half chance, confident striker shoots there. He's just overthinking it. It's the same with the offside chance, overthinking it. You know, like it's clear there's like a real sort of lack of confidence there. And it's just leading him to make odd decisions. It's leading him to go missing. I was watching the game on the phone with my dad last night, and I think the Armstrong chance where Armstrong hit the outside of the post, I saw Dykes come into the shot, and I said to my dad, I didn't realize he was still on the pitch. Like I thought he'd been subbed off, and it's things like that. Like Harry, you said the least you expect from your striker is like goals or goal threat. Like when he goes missing, there's not even any threat. It's just like it's almost like playing with 10. And I don't want to get on him too hard because he's going to be our number 9 this season. But like, and again, yeah, like it's his second season playing in front of proper crowds. But like, and I understand that can be tough, especially with our fans. They can get impatient with the strikers because of the strikers we've had in the past. But it's like, you've got to get over that, man. Like you have to get over that, because if you're just gonna like hide every time you miss a decent chance or make a mistake, you're not gonna make it here. You're not gonna make it in this league. You're probably not gonna make it in this country.
Yeah, you got to deal with it as part of being a professional footballer. Like that, I know it's slightly different, but that left back yesterday, he was loving it when the fans were getting on his back. Like you've got to learn to use it as fuel in the right way. Like any sort of criticism, and that's what the best players do. Whether opposition fans getting on your back, use that to wind them up more, or if your fans are sort of getting on your back, think I'm going to show him, prove him wrong. And it almost looks like he lets it get to him too much. And he's got to see past it. He's got to see past it.
And QPR fans, more than most, are fickle. If he goes and scores 3 games in a row, absolutely nobody remembers what happened on Tuesday.
Yeah, I know.
Like nobody. That's what he's got to think in his head. If I score the next chance, I'm the hero again. Like against Middlesbrough, he was the hero. If he scores, if he gets 2 goals against Rotherham, if he gets 1 goal and we beat Rotherham on Saturday, he's the hero again. That's what he needs to have in his head. It can't be, I'm afraid that I'm going to miss this next chance, because it's killing us.
Yeah.
No.
Well, one last thing about the first half, and I didn't say about Laird. I thought first half he was really good, and there was one where I think Dykes flicked it on, to be fair to him, flicked it round the corner, and Laird has absolutely skinned his man. And I do think we should be excited about this lad, because we've almost looked lopsided of not wanting to go down that right. Like, I don't want to hate on Kakai, but realistically, he's probably just not good enough for the level to be, beating his man and stuff. But yeah, I think Laird is going to provide real threat. And second half wasn't amazing, but first game and had one training session. It was promising stuff in that first half, and in the second half he made that really good defensive tackle. So yeah, I think he'll be good.
I think the important message from those chances are that goals change games, and I think we saw from Blackpool, and particularly Josh Bowler, who I thought was probably one of the better players on the pitch, that they take their chance, they go 1-0 up before half time, and we've really got it all to do. What did you guys make of the goal? Because obviously it was his second shot, wasn't it? I think there was quite a few bodies in our area from our point of view. And they didn't really feel like, to me, that they were gonna score in that first half.
Nah, do you know what? I think it comes off. I think Dunn slices his clearance, which he's done a couple of times before. But I don't think that excuses how we dealt with it. I think Josh Bowler, obviously a really good player. You don't want to show him inside. Like we were just happy to show him onto his left. And obviously the first shot is blocked, fair enough. But I felt a little bit, I was a little bit disappointed with it. I felt we were just very lax back there. I think most of the night Blackpool didn't offer much threat. I know they had a 15-minute spell in the first half where they were probably the better side. They didn't really offer much threat, and I think we knew that. And I think we were just a little bit lax defending that goal for me.
Harry, what did you think of the goal?
Yeah, well, we gave it away and we were really, really open. And as soon as we gave it away, I turned to my mate and I was just like, oh, like this is dangerous. And then we get bodies back, but we don't really put in the challenge. And I think it was Dykes who was the closest man. Like I do rate Dykes' work rate, but you want feel like whoever's there got to just throw themselves in front of the ball. And Bill says it, and it's cliche, but it's true. You got to scrap for every point in this league, and there's no point passing it about nice if you're not going to put your body on the line. And yeah, we've just let him get that shot away too easily, and we know how good he is. So yeah, it was a frustrating goal to concede, and it's a bad time to concede too. Just before half time, they go in. Now their game plan, they're going to just soak it up and hit us on the break, which is what they're set up to do. And they were happy because they had something to protect. They didn't have to go searching for that goal. Yeah, frustrating, but we probably still should have got something out of the game after that.
Right. So in the second half, probably one of the bright sparks of our game yesterday was Sinclair Armstrong. He came on. I think we changed the shape slightly to go 2 up front. And yeah, he threw all his energy at that game. Were you guys impressed with his performance and impact?
Yeah, no, I really was. Nah, you go ahead, Harry. You go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll jump in. So yeah, I've been impressed with every time he's come off the bench. Always makes an impact on the game. It's getting to that point where now I know he shouldn't really be starting in an ideal world. We should have, a striker that's more competent than him and impacts games at least nearly as much as him. But the stark difference between before he comes on and after he comes on, with the threat that we then put on the other team, the runs in behind, the options that he gives players when they get their head up, I think it's really, really impressive. And I think unless he wants to use Roberts as a 9, or unless we bring in someone else, I really think within the next 4 or 5 games, if Dykes continues how he played last night and Armstrong continues to have this impact off the bench, I really think that he's got to be in with a shout of getting a start. I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing, and I think he's got a bright future. I think he offers a lot to the team, and yeah, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. That was nice and composed. I didn't get too carried away, but yeah, I'm well in on the hype.
On the flip side, I'm gonna get completely carried away. No, I'm joking. I like him. I've said it before that I like him. For me, I'm not quite sure if he's a striker. I saw something you said last night, to be fair, Harry, where you sort of talked about Sinclair not being ready and people didn't think Mbappe were ready. I thought it was quite funny you said that, because he, in terms of kind of like his tendencies, he's quite similar to Mbappe in that he likes to drift onto that left side. I'm not saying he's Mbappe, by the way. Let's get that clear.
Yeah, be careful. I got a little bit of.
Yeah, if there's any way to announce yourself on QPR Twitter, is to compare Sinclair Armstrong with Mbappe.
With Mbappe, but just in terms of like, he's got so Mbappe has got kind of like the directness and instinctiveness of a striker, but he drifts to the left and likes to cut in on his right. Armstrong's a bit like that, which is why I'm not sure if he's a striker, especially when you look at kind of like, if you want to judge that miss at the end, he maybe isn't the strongest. He's not the strongest finisher, but in terms of like him coming off the left, the pace that he has, he's probably the fastest player in our team. Athletically, I think it's just him and Tyler Roberts. It's absolutely nuts that this kid is 19 years old and he's built like that. But I really like him. I mean, I think for me, I wouldn't. I'm not sure I'm ready to start him just yet, just because he puts himself about so much. He runs himself into the ground, and he's only really had these 25, 30-minute cameos, and he just looks like he's giving it his all in these cameos. So I think, and Beale said this as well, it's up to the coaches to kind of just refine that a little bit, just make sure that he's not running himself into the ground for the sake of running himself to the ground, but using that enthusiasm and that aggression wisely. Technically, he's still a bit raw, but I think it's not raw enough to say that he shouldn't be playing. It's more something that I think will improve with time. But I really like him. I'd like to see. I think he gives us the option to like maybe play a 4-3-3, like have those guys, have the wingers a bit wider, allow the eights to push on. I know Beale's kind of said in the past, hasn't he, that he likes his midfielders to stay in place, but he did experiment with pushing Amos further forward and Chaz played midfield. So I think what he gives us already allows us to be more flexible, and for that reason, I think he's got to be knocking on the door. At least he's knocking on the door for me for a starting place.
I'll jump in and ask a question. What do you how would you play him? You don't think he's a winger? For me, I think you want to use him in a 2. Yeah, you want to use him in a 2 or away from home if you're playing against a tough team. Like if you're wanting to hit someone on the counter and you play him up there by himself, like I do think that's a real option. And yeah, I'm not sold he's an out 9. I think he's one of them guys that if he is to play up front, be better in a 2. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what you guys reckon. Where do you think he actually fits in best?
Dan, what do you think?
I can see both arguments. I suppose it really depends on the game. I liked him back to goal against Blackburn. I thought he kind of held the ball and linked it well. But then also he's that good physically that he's got the running power to drive at players from wide areas. I think I'd have doubts about him being a lone striker just because I think the demands of number 9 in this division are fairly big. And I think even though Dykes isn't exactly a brilliant striker at this level, he still has to do a lot of the dirty work, and that does get him a lot of his credit. But I think if you play him with someone like Dykes, where he can win the flick-ons and run in behind, and we saw, I think, against Marvin Ekpateta, he got absolutely dragged down to the floor, but he still managed to stay on his feet. So I think that versatility helps, especially with the lack of squad depth in some areas. But I'd be interested to see whether Bill nails him down to a particular place anytime soon.
Yeah, it's still early days with him,
sorry.
isn't it? I mean, it's still early days with him. I guess we still need to learn a lot more about him. I quite like the idea as Roberts as the 9 and Sinclair and Willock either side of him or just behind him, just because I think Roberts has got a bit of variety in that, like he's not an out 9, but he's got the physicality to hold the ball up. And I think he's got quite a good eye for a pass, not necessarily in like an Eze way or even a Tarat way, but more in a kind of in that final third. I think he has a really good eye for that last sort of ball in behind, which I think Sinclair would really feed off. And I think as well, he gives us something which we just haven't had for years, which is just a bit of like pace and running in behind up top. So I think he's going to be a real good weapon for us. But if and when he's ready to start, that's another question. But I think just based off his profile, based off what he does, I think he's already a really exciting option for us.
Tell you what, I loved when he had that shot and then it got palmed wide and their defenders gathering the ball and he comes over and he just absolutely bodies him. And it
Loved
just like his
Loved it.
enthusiasm, and just like as fans, that's what you want to see. You want to see someone putting himself about. It's great to see. But then, yeah, everyone's saying like he won't do it for 90 minutes. Yeah, he can't do what he shows in that for 90 minutes, but he hasn't been given it yet. So I do think what he just has to change really is conserving his energy. And the lads obviously played 90 minutes, loads for 23s, or like he's not gonna just, he's not stupid. He's not gonna run himself into the ground for 90. But it just, yeah, we need to see how wise he is with when he uses that energy. If he gets given the nod, it's a shame we got out the cup, because it would have been nice. That would have been a good opportunity to really see.
Yeah.
If he could do it.
Yeah. It's classic QPR in the Carabao Cup, I guess.
Indeed.
Given, really.
I mean, I was going to talk about the refereeing performance briefly, but I don't really want to go and make myself angry again. And we've been talking so much about the football that I'll probably leave that for this podcast. Moving on to Rotherham, then kind of leans on what we think about whether Sinclair Armstrong will start, which we'll touch on in a minute. But what can we expect from Rotherham and Paul Warne's side?
I reckon. So there's that Benner, I think you say his name. Is that right?
Oh yeah,
the winger.
Yeah.
Decent player. Then obviously they've got the man, the myth, the legend, Connor Washington up front. So he's
a hero.
I think I might as well just put a 5 on him to score, because he could not score for the life of him for us. But yeah, like he's easily bagging a brace at the weekend. It's just written in the stars. We are
He's
QPR.
30 years old now. He's
30.
That makes me feel so old.
Yeah, I know. He was like young when he came to us, wasn't he? Like 22, 23 or something.
Jesus Christ.
That is crazy. He had a bad time. And then I'm sure I think Ben Wiles filled from, he's a decent player. And then they've got a defender, like physical lad. I'm not sure of the name, but they also, back there they got Grant Hall as well. So
when you said the word physical and defender, I thought you were going to talk about Grant Hall there for a second.
No, but yeah, they'll be well drilled. I think they did well in League One last year. They've come up, they beat Reading 4-0, albeit thanks to Joe Lumley. But I think they're going to be difficult to beat, and that's what they'll make sure they are this season. They know they're not going to set the league alight with the way they play, but they're going to come here and be difficult to beat. So, yeah, it'll be a tricky game. Willock in the side will massively help. I think everyone knows it. We're just a completely different team with him when he's playing. So, yeah, I'm hoping he's there. Excited to go watch, even though I just witnessed what I witnessed last night. But yeah, that's my take on Rotherham. Micah, Dan, what's your take?
I'll let Micah go first.
I mean, I think you know what you're getting from a Paul Warne Rotherham team in the Championship. To be honest with you, for me, we should be beating Rotherham. In my opinion, we should have beaten Blackpool last night. To be fair, but we should be beating Rotherham. That's not to knock Rotherham or anything. I just think we'll look back in the team. Roberts getting into full flow. Lairds can have had a few more minutes. We should be, quality-wise, we should be beating them. So I would be very disappointed if I'm sat here next week and we're not talking about 3 points on Saturday.
I suppose the only thing that probably goes in their favour is they beat Reading 4-0, like you said, and they drew 0-0 to Preston, which from looking at the stats, it looked like they kind of got away with one, but that's 2 clean sheets on the bounce for them, probably what their bread and butter is at this level. So do you reckon that will kind of give them the confidence to think they can get something from this game?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. like Mike says. Although it might be nice if they have a bit of confidence and try and come at us, because I mean, since we had that amazing 6 months, we almost made playoffs in at the end of the 2020-2021 season. Every team that comes to Loftus Road really does sit in unless you're one of the sides going for it. So it'll be if they're full of confidence and they fancy themselves, it might suit us a bit more, because we do look so much better when we got a bit of space to play in. But yeah, I'm not too sure what to expect. We'll have to see.
And then finally for the Rotherham preview, I guess, how do you both want to set up on Saturday? Harry, we'll start with you.
Cool. I'm gonna be sick of my own voice in a minute. I reckon we go, obviously Dieng led. After he's had a few more sessions, he should be looking good. Dicky done. Powell, hoping he steps it up. Then I'd quite like to see, I want Johansson drop this game. I'm a fan of his, but he can't really get away with that. What he showed yesterday. Dazelle Field as a 2. And then the 3 main men, Willock, Chair, and Roberts. And then I'm not gonna say it. I'd like to see Armstrong given a go, but in this formation like that, I reckon Dykes. So those 3 behind Dykes, and let's hope he has a better game. I think Dykes will be given a few more chances before he's dropped. But yeah, go on. What do you reckon? How do you reckon we'll line up?
Micah, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'm interested to see if he starts Willock or not. I think maybe with the result on Tuesday, he'll probably be in a mind to start him. I think the back four probably kind of back 5 picks itself in Dieng, Powell, Dunn, Dicky, and Laird. I think Powell needs to pull his finger out a little bit. He looks like he's struggling a little bit. But, again, he's not been fully fit, to be fair, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm a huge Johansson fan, but I did think yesterday was really bad from him. I think the game just completely passed him by.
Went backwards way too much as well.
Yeah, it's a weird one for me with Johansson, because I thought against Middlesbrough he was really, really good, probably one of our better players.
Yeah.
And then he's kind of just gone into limbo a little bit these last 2, and the game just sort of just going through the motions a little bit. I also think I love Field. I thought Field has probably been our player of the season so far, and I think he was probably our best player last night alongside Rob Dickey. But I would like to see him back in that defensive midfield role, defending the back line. I've spoke about it before. I think the the centre backs are a little bit hesitant to get a bit wider and allow Johansson to sort of drop in on the counter attack sometimes. And I think that's maybe because Johansson isn't naturally as good defensively as Field. So I'd be interested to see Field back there. I think Dazelle had a good game, but Dazelle has a good game and then he has a bad game. So I'd start him again, but we need to see a bit of consistency from him. I would start Chair in 8, personally, just to allow Roberts and Willock to play there. He's kind of spoke about Chair playing in the 8 before. I think if Chair's going to be as cautious as he is, I think in the 8 it actually might be quite helpful if he's a little bit more hesitant and he's just willing to give it to Willock and Roberts. I'm not going to go with Sinclair just because I think at the moment I really like what he's given us off the bench, and I think against tired legs, someone that big and that strong from 60 minutes onwards is tough to deal with in the Championship when it's the second midweek game. It's the second game in the week, sorry. So I will go with Dykes. I think it's as good a chance as any to get. Again, no disrespect to Rotherham, but they are probably going to be down there this season. So if there's any game that you want your striker to be getting confidence back in, it's probably Rotherham at home. So I will go with Dykes. So that's how I'd line up. Yeah.
And on that
Go on,
note,
Dan.
do you want me to go? I think he'll keep it relatively similar. I think Willock will probably come in on the basis he said he's available. And I think as much as Johansson wasn't brilliant on Tuesday, I think Dezelle will be the victim to drop out that side. I think dropping your captain 4-5 games in, well, I don't think Bill will take that risk making a statement. So I think Chair would drop into the 8 to replace Dezelle, and then the front 3 would be Roberts, Willock and Dykes, with obviously Armstrong to come on the bench. And I don't know the situation whether Bond will be selected for the squad on Saturday, because obviously he wasn't picked on Tuesday night. But yeah, I think he'll keep it relatively similar, to be fair. And on that note, what's your guys' score predictions for the game on Saturday? We'll start with Harry.
I say every time. I've already been on it once and predicted us to win, and we lost.
We're not on this podcast. We're not known for our score predictions. I'll let you into that secret.
Literally.
I'm gonna do the reverse psychology. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a 1-1 draw. I'm gonna downplay it. 1-1 draw.
I'm gonna completely curse us and say we win 2-0.
2-0. I think I'll go for 2-1.
No clean sheet.
No, I don't know. It just those fullbacks bombing up and down the pitch don't give me a load of confidence of us keeping a clean sheet. But I'd love to be proved wrong. And that's basically it for this week's podcast. Make sure you check out Our Generation on Twitter. I think it's at Our Generation Net. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you listen on. And feel free to check out the guys on Twitter for all tactical and nostalgic QPR content. Guys, what's your Twitter handles?
So I am at LIBAW_. Just purely like QPR nostalgia stuff on there. I done a nice little thread on the 2010-11 season today. And I've got something dropping probably start of next week about the 11-12 run-in. For those of you that are too young to remember, we had to play all of the big 6, and we basically needed to win 6 out of 10, otherwise we would have gone down. And fortunately or unfortunately, we won 6 of them and stayed up, and then had the worst season ever a year later. But we'll reminisce on the good times, so watch out for that.
And Harry,
and then R_insights 2022. Check it out. Hopefully no more angry tweets and then angry men coming to kill me. I'm having to start to mute a few people, but charge to the game. Charge to the game.
It's not QPR without angry tweets.
No. So yeah, do go check those guys out. And the only real plug for me would be that there's a piece coming sometime next week. If you enjoy tactical content, then look out for that, and I can reveal a bit more next week. But in the meantime, thank you for listening, and come on, you Ars.
You Ars.